I did not snort. I
You
said
so snorted.
like that. Hey, welcome everyone to the snorting episode.
Of a wife like me.
Nice. Now that is a snort. Oh, ladies,
I
ladies,
heard you snort. Don't deny it. It's okay. You don't
probably.
have to feel bad about it.
You know what? I snorted. I don't know. I don't even know. It's fine, you guys.
It's endearing. Yeah.
Oh, welcome. This, you know what? We're starting the episode off great. I feel like we're maybe going to argue. Like, can we argue about something? Just kidding. I don't want to do that
Let's
either.
not.
That doesn't
Yeah.
sound
Can we
fun.
talk about your glasses though? How cute you look. Seriously.
Well, you know what? I buy direct. I as in EYE. I had to think hard of how you
Oh,
spell that.
love it.
I buy direct. Cheap glasses, like $30.
Right.
Boom. I will never buy glasses in a store again.
I've kind of always wanted glasses. I have like 2015 vision. And so if I wear glasses and like even sunglasses, it obstructs my vision, you know?
Oh.
Especially the glasses that the kids sit on and they're always scratched. This is my desire is
Yeah.
that I would have one pair that's not scratched, but it keeps it exciting though, because some of them I wear, they're like scratched here, and then others it's scratched on the other lens. Some it's just a solid scratch all over, just the day looks hazy, foggy, just go with it. So,
No,
yeah.
that's not good.
Yeah, it gives me something to aspire to. But I've always wanted glasses, like even growing up. I'm like, oh, you should do that. And, now you have like cosmetic glasses. So I guess I could do it.
Oh, you can totally do it.
Totally go for that.
I
Right.
think they're like an accessory. They're fun. I
Yeah.
try to just be positive because I can't get LASIK. I can get that PRK or something like that. But it's like a big, long, well, not big, but I feel like it's a long recovery and I'm kind of scared. I'm scared of cats, so I don't want to do it. So
Yeah.
we're going to make the best of the glasses. We're going to just,
Okay. Well, they look so cute on you.
thanks.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Love it.
I'm pumped. You guys, we have a good episode. This is a needed one. It's about arguing. It's really about communication, how to argue in ways that feel good and not end hard all the time. And so Rebecca Hastings is the writer, the author of this post. So thanks to Rebecca. She's every single episode, any post we talk about is linked, and the author is always linked as well. And so check
I,
her out. Yeah.
I like her already because she says she likes chocolate. So we have to know. Are you milk chocolate or dark chocolate? Rebecca didn't tell us. Drop it below. I'm a milk chocolate lover.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll
How
make
about
sure
you?
she answers that. But it's interesting because we've all been in places where we regret saying or how things went and how, the conversation occurred. And, we've all been there. And so
Right.
how do we argue wisely? And that's what Rebecca is sharing. And, oh, we need it because I have found, and we have so much on this topic at A Wife Like Me. I've written posts because even just for myself, like wanting to grow in this area and even going into an argument and doing air quotes. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing that. But like there's things that happen pre-argument in our hearts and in our minds that really matter and affect the argument time. So that's important to know. But this is like really what Rebecca goes into is how can we learn to argue with wisdom, enabling the relationship. And she says Romans 14:19 says, so then let us pursue what promotes peace and what builds up one another. So that's the goal. Arguing is healthy. One of our counselors said so cool. I had never heard it before. He said, unity, peace, unity is not uniformity, meaning like arguing can be really beautiful and like really healthy and bonding if you do it respectfully and lovingly. And you don't have to think the same to have a good argument. You don't have to find yourself at the same result to have a good argument and a healthy one. So that's kind of the goal behind this is like Romans 14:19, let us pursue what promotes peace and what builds up one another. Can we do that? We can, as we come at difficult things and come together and talk about difficult things. So that's the goal of it.
Right. I love it. I always take notes during these. Sorry if you see me look down. Um, but I'm always like writing because there's such wisdom in that. And I really have to just sit and digest that a little more. That if I hear it just at first glance, I'm not going to catch it as deeply. But that is so wise. And it brings to light so many scriptures um, that cite unity. And I love that she started with that Romans 14:19 too. But because it kind of gives a, hey, before you get started, here's a bit of a preamble. Here's an umbrella. Everything should fit under that. And if our goal is to really pursue unity and pursue relationships that work well, then that gives us a foundation for all of our interactions. It shouldn't be, I love what your pastor said, that unity isn't uniformity, that we all walk away and go, okay, so we absolutely agree on that. Okay, then we can move forward. But it's that
Yeah.
hearing each other and mirroring back what we hear and understanding where the difference is, understanding where similarities are, and then be able to go to walk forward from there.
Yeah, I remember, on this topic, before we get into the tips that Rebecca has, um, you know, thinking through after our counselor had said that, thinking through our next like difficult conversation. And I remember I was hurt about something he had said or the way he had said it, or kind of dismissed what I was feeling or something to that effect. And I remember like pausing and remembering that I kind of remembered like telling myself, okay, he doesn't have to be in exact understanding and like see this how I see it, but
Mm-hmm.
he can respect and listen and meet me in that place, even if we disagree. And
Right.
that feels like resolve. And so,
Right.
that's the goal when we come into this like episode, even of like when these tips can kind of go out the window if we don't understand that first. Like if we go into an argument thinking that in order for this to be resolved, we have to both see it the same way. Like, you hurt me, you said that wrong, what you did was wrong, whatever the thing is, that decision was made in a whatever way or whatever we're hurt about, or whatever this issue is. If we're coming into it thinking that they have to see it the exact same way I see it, we're doomed from the get-go.
Right.
Because again, unity does not look like uniformity. Unity looks like honoring, respecting, loving, humility, and meeting each other there. Like coming together, listening about and sharing our hearts and our views, that can be peaceable. That can bring unity, even if we don't see it the same. So
Right.
that, I just want to set that up, I guess.
Right. I love that because I want that outcome. I want that outcome in our relationship to be unity and bonding and being closer after talking about something, not to build a chasm and disconnect. I
Yeah.
want there to be bridges there so that we can continue to connect. And if we don't agree because we're in a marriage relationship, we probably circle back to those again and
Mhm.
again, right? But to have a model and to look at what should that look like? What are some ways if we're stuck in that rut where we just end in like a really bad place? And Rebecca was um, super transparent at the beginning where she said, that looked like her driving away with the kids and saying, okay, I'm physically need a break from this and have to walk away. She went back and said, hold on, what are some other tips that I could use so that I don't end up in that same place? We've all done that. We've been at the end of a conversation and say, how did we get there? And so for me, it feels like what she does is she sets up some kind of markers, like along the highway, you have those guardrails, and they're really helpful, not only for you, but for the other drivers, right? And so her tips to me read as guardrails to keep me on the road and in the right direction so that I end up someplace I want to be, not how did this happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that's right. Because if we have those sort of like these, like we can write these tips down as like reminders to help us along the way, because we're going to get frustrated, right? So her
Right.
first tip is to avoid blaming. And right? But instead of looking at our husbands, this is what I try to do when we talk about here all the time is instead of seeing our husbands as the enemy and as in the wrong, as the one that needs to change XYZ or see XYZ, instead shift that needle to our own hearts. Okay, what's upsetting me? What's going on inside of me? What's hurtful inside? What is going on here that's hard inside of me? Because when I share my own hurt, it's more helpful than pointing my finger at what he did wrong, right? If I'm sharing, right, I I think I'm feeling emotional because I feel so alone, or I think I'm feeling upset because it feels like whatever, you dismissed that or don't care about that or don't see that or whatever the case is, right? That's what's going on in me. And then that opens the door for our husbands to like, oh, okay, to see that we are experiencing something. Because then if it's our experience, they can't honestly, it is what it is, right? I am feeling that. And therefore, I would like to chat about that, right?
Right.
Versus you just XYZ and that's wrong or that's hurt. You did this. Like, which might be the case, but when we focus on what's going on inside of us and what's hurtful to us, what we're experiencing, that's helpful to when we're talking about building communication that actually builds up each other and our marriage and brings unity. It's helpful, obviously, to just focus on our own experience in that. And
Right.
then when we have that conversation, it opens the door for them to like, well, why? Or what do you mean? Or what did I do? Or what's going on? But I love that tip.
Right. That first guardrail being to stop blaming, because if we walk into a conversation, even a hard one, especially, we walk into that blaming, that's going to automatically put the other person at the defensive. And then we've started like down a bad path, you know?
Yeah, we
If
see it with
we
our
start
kids.
with, this is how I feel, and that kind of guardrail number two or tip number two, say how you feel and actually give words to it. And so many times we can feel emotions that then begin to swell and feel bigger and bigger, but we've never actually named. And she talks about sometimes that can look like silence or avoidance, because you're not saying how you feel. So in the relationship, if you say, hey, I feel really alone right now because I expressed that I needed more connection and we weren't really experiencing that. And so I kind of feel like alone in trying to solve that problem. Instead, if we're silent or avoid, or she says, like slam doors or kind of stonewall, like, what's wrong? Nothing. We think that we're communicating something that maybe says, I'm really crying out and wish that you would come and comfort me, for example.
Yeah,
Whereas the other person, our spouse, could say, by that silence and avoidance and door slamming, I have no idea what she's thinking. And where did things go wrong? I don't even know. I'm overthinking this in ways that don't even lead to the real problem. So instead, the mature way to do it is to say how we feel. And that can be hard because I don't know about you. I mean, the trained counselor in this, but you've been trained to say, these are my feelings. And so for me, I just have to stutter step a little bit more and say, this is what I'm feeling. I need help processing this. Or can you help me connect the dots here? Because this is how I'm feeling in this situation. When I do that, that opens up the relationship
yeah,
versus stonewalling or being silent or driving away, as she said. that closes the relationship. And then we have to deal with this, and we still have to deal with the issue.
Hmm. I've found that even it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters if you're a trained counselor or not. There are times where I also need help to process why I'm feeling that way. So that is
Yeah.
a tip too that we'll add is, when you don't know, maybe what you feel, but you don't know why. So like I do feel so maybe alone, but I don't even know why even. Or I feel so hurt, but I'm not exactly even sure what it's all about. Or that's typically we can identify sometimes the feeling. I feel isolated. I feel withdrawn. I feel scared. I feel fearful. I feel um, shame. Whatever it is, we typically know what we feel, but we don't always know the root of it or the reasons why. So, like, yeah, like you say, I love that. Going to our husbands and saying, I feel this, but I'm not even like sure what's going on with me. Can we talk about it? It doesn't feel so threatening to them because it's about us. And through that conversation, things might come into the light. Uh,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And being able, I think, to build a new way of connecting, to do that with your husband builds kind of I mean, for me, kind of a new road that says, this is maybe how we can deal with conflict, or we can deal with each of us having a different experience after a situation. And it's building a new way that's a healthy way. And sometimes it can seem intimidating, like, well, that's not how we communicate at all we need is like one healthy example, right?
Yeah.
Because God always tells us that if we're faithful with little, he'll give us much. So we know that that's a characteristic of the Lord. So if we're faithful to say, I'm going to try it with this one conversation, and instead of starting with, you always say, I feel that,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is, I think of our kids so often because we're teaching our kids. We want our kids to understand how to do this well, right? We hear them argue, or we hear our kids go into the one room and say, you blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, that's not helpful. Why don't we try that again? Like, let's see how, then he's on the defense or she's on the defense and here we go. It's the
Right.
same with us. And so rebuilding and teaching like our kids how to argue well and communicate hurt well and hear hurt well. And this next, one of the things, the next tip is to take space. But I do love this because sometimes I'll say to my kids, like after like, when you came in and took that Lego from my room, it felt disrespectful to me and it felt hurt. I feel hurt because I asked you not to do that. That's one thing. And then if the other kiddo responds with something that's not helpful or honoring or respectful, then we try to teach them to understand they're not ready yet. Okay, they're not ready yet. And sometimes our hearts are not ready yet. So, like, why don't we just give him some time and we'll circle back tonight, or okay, you heard each other right now. We're on the way to school, let's say, and ooh, okay, you both shared some pretty deep feelings. Good job. High five. And I don't think anybody's ready yet to kind of take it any further yet. So you shared, good job. We're not ready yet to resolve. Let's circle back later. And it's the same for us. And so often we sit down thinking we need to resolve it right now. And
Yeah.
depending on our personalities, we do that. Maybe not, right? But like for me, and I hear it all the time within, marriages, is we have different styles of communication. We have different personalities that desire arguments to or resolve to happen at different speeds. So for myself, and I'm sure it's right, they're typically not the same. Is the point? Typically, one person prefers to resolve something now, and the other prefers to process first before they're ready to resolve. And so this is crucial to honor and respect that you're both different. So,
Right.
if at any time, and this is on our communication guide, if you've not received our free resources on Wife Like Me, just go to wifelikeme.com, get those free resources. One of them is a communication guide. And the ground rules set up before you even talk about something hard or difficult is at any time, someone needs to take a break, to process, to get space. If it becomes disrespectful or harmful or unloving, you say, hey, let's circle back. And you decide on a time to circle back. You agree beforehand, hey, if at any time it doesn't go well, we feel disrespected, we can say, I need to come back later.
Right.
Agree to do that, you know?
I've heard that before. And is it reacting or responding?
Right.
And
Yeah.
oftentimes we feel that we have to react and it has to be the best, solution right then.
Yeah.
Versus respond says it, it's in the camp of wisdom. And it says, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
And like you said, it gives time to process first. I think I'm going to make one of those like caption things that you see in like photo booths that says, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
So, like in arguments, you can hold that up because it's so wise. And I mean, goodness me, on the way to school is the time to
Right.
unpack those
Right.
things. Just
Always.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
right? We take an attitude lap. Just yeah. On school drop off, sometime if we're not ready, we just go ahead and buzz on by. I've done it as many as 3
Oh, I
times
love it.
until we're
Right.
ready,
We're
until
ready.
our attitude is ready to embrace some kindness and some
Mhm.
an attitude that's ready to learn.
I
We
like
just need a
that.
little more time. It's
I like
okay.
that. You
Yeah.
know, but how often do we like fail to respect that in our own spouses, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, our kids need an extra lap, but we don't allow other people to have laps, you know?
Right.
Like, um,
It, and
yeah,
so she said it in ways that were like really helpful because she said, and tip number 3 is what we're talking about and make a space here. 3 ways to argue wisely by Rebecca Hastings. Ask for a break. Ask for a pause. Ask to change activities. Like, I kind of need some time to process this. Would you mind if we go on a walk instead? Or I'm going to go take a lap around the block and come back. I want to answer this wisely and I want to do this well. And it's going to take me a hot second.
yeah.
Can you grant me that time?
I think the fear for those of us listening or watching who want to resolve it and resolve it yesterday
Right.
is that it won't get resolved if we don't talk about it right now. So we need to talk about it right now, right?
But
But
that pressing, right?
but the beauty is in the way that we resolve that for ourselves and to be able to like, oh, okay, I can feel okay processing or you needing to process even though I don't or vice versa is that I know we will come back to it. It's not going to stay unresolved. So I can live with that. Like it's just this fear of like, but if we don't talk about it and resolve it, it's never going to be talked about or resolved. When if we say like Rebecca's saying, and you know, we've said again in the past, it's like agreeing to come back at a later time says,
Mhm.
okay, I can then step back and allow you to process how you need to process, and
Right.
or vice versa for myself or whatever. And that's a beautiful thing because again, Ephesians 4:3, when Rebecca writes, we can, well, Paul wrote it, but we can build one another up even in our arguing. Um, or again, she's referring to Ephesians 4:3. We can build one another up even in our arguing when we make wise choices.
Mhm.
So that's gorgeous, and that's the goal. And we can. I think it's like a maturity thing, like a heart posture toward the Lord
Mm.
of being like surrendered in this area of like wanting to grow in this versus doing like you said that just going through the same patterns responding reacting the same way not really deciding to grow or deciding to grow and then we'll see the fruit of that as we submit and surrender in this way. So I love it.
We're kind of getting to a place where it's not really resolved. And I'm looking at the opposite of that. So, that heart posture towards maturity, deciding to grow. The other side of that could be a heart posture towards being absolutely right, not
Mhm.
wanting to discuss it, knowing that the conclusion is going to be to sever the relationship.
Mhm.
And then to keep track of all of those that you have severed and how they have severed, and furthermore, recruit other people, it becomes so complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus having that heart posture. And so that starts with a prayer and saying, God, I may not be super good at these relationships and insert name of relationships. I pray that you help me to come to a place that I can see that with your eyes and that I want to genuinely grow. And I pray that you'd refine me during that and help me to grow. That's a healthier place to live,
Yeah.
because the other place is like toxic
Yes.
and doesn't resolve anything. And furthermore, just begets more relationships
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's no fun. It's miserable, actually. And it's filled with bitterness and resentment and yeah,
Right.
toxicity within your home, and you can't stand each other, and you're waiting for him to do it because you're so annoyed and hurt, and he's got to like figure it out before you ever will even show him anything. And I think we've probably all been there. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. It's just no fun. It's no fun.
Right. And sometimes that can be such a deep rut, that's really hard to get out of, just the two of you holding shovels. But
Yeah.
like, go and ask for other people to hold those shovels with you and teach you a new way. And that's where, meeting with a pastor or a trusted counselor is going to help. And that doesn't have to be a forever. You don't have to do it every Tuesday at 10 o'clock forever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Even doing that a couple of times a week or once a week for a season will help to show you a new way of
Yeah.
communicating. I know that that's helped me so much. I also want to go back to Ephesians. You ended up in Ephesians 4 based on what she's saying, but it also says don't let anger get a foothold in Ephesians 4:26.
Mm.
And so that reacting is where anger can get a foothold. And then don't let the sun go down on your anger can sometimes make us feel like we really have to resolve this completely before we
Something
go to bed,
changes. Yeah.
versus saying, even we're in the process of that, like, I'm really tired and I could use a good night's sleep on this and some time to pray. Can we revisit this after coffee in the morning?
Exactly.
That's a
Exactly.
step towards resolving. You don't have to stay up until 3 a.m.
That's
Like,
right. That's right.
because me after, 10, that's like, I'm not functioning in the best way that I can.
Right. Right. That scripture is not referring to duking it out until one wins or one is right or one, no.
Right.
It is exactly what you said. It's saying, I'm not going to be angry. I love you. I'm for you. I love you. And is it okay if we chat about it in the morning? Um,
Right.
yeah, like that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. That's the goal. And
Right.
yeah, yeah. So that's good. Thank you, Rebecca. We love you. We like such a good reminder, because we all need these reminders and help in growing in communication and
Right.
conflict and arguments and all of that. We all always need the help. So cheers to that. And every episode, Kelly, I don't know, we talk about something and I never know what we're going to talk about. So,
Right. I just try to get to know you and other wives. We're just trying to get to know each other a little bit. So you and your husband, you're on a date. You have to you have to get to the other side of the lake. Are you going to do it on a tandem bicycle or row a boat together? I mean, what's going to be more effective? You only have two ways.
wait, you said you have to get the other side of the lake. You can bike around it?
On a tandem bike
Okay.
or in a rowboat.
I want to sit in the rowboat. It sounds like peaceful and my vagina won't hurt. And, I don't know. I can't do bikes. What is up
It's
with that?
always a consideration.
How do you ride a bike? And I've had 3 kids. I don't get it. I don't get it. How do women ride bikes?
You took
I
this in a
don't get it.
totally different way. Yep. Than I was thinking.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
It matters. I seriously see women on bikes. I'm like, what do you have, like 5 inches of cushion? I don't get it.
Yes. Okay.
Tell me
Padded
what.
seat cushion.
Is that legit? Is that legit?
It's a thing. Padded seat cushion. Okay.
Our Walmart bicycles
Probably not. Okay, you're probably gonna have to go to a bike store,
I'm
right?
contemplating duct taping a pillow on that sucker.
It's pretty well the same, but it's more socially acceptable. It looks like a bike seat. Okay. And it doesn't have just the fluff of a pillow. I believe it has like some sort of gel in
Is
it.
it for real? Are you for real? Is this
Yeah, I'm
what
serious. Yeah. Both of our bikes have it. Yeah.
vagina?
Because you call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it padded bike seat. Okay. It's like a gift to yourself. Go get it. Okay. And
I'm still scared. I don't know.
maybe
It's like
ask,
a
take
gel.
your bike to that bike shop, say, hey, is this adjusted for me correctly? I mean, it could be too tall or something.
It's hard, is what it is, and I'm not doing it.
Okay.
it,
Yep.
it is not enjoyable, and
Okay,
I'm
so the
not.
rowboat for you. Okay. Yep. And this is where we end up,
Yeah, yeah. Just being real, you asked.
Right. Didn't know we'd go there.
So let
Okay.
me guess. You do the tandem bike with your
Probably.
jet seat.
Yeah, it involves more speed. So,
Oh, I like it. I like it.
yeah.
I like it. Yeah. See
Yeah.
now, I like speed too on a jet ski, where there's lots of cushion on that sucker. You
Right.
know,
Right. That's just a good time right
it
there.
doesn't
Yeah.
hurt at all. It's
Right.
fun.
Okay. Okay, so however you get across the lake, we're with you.
Let
Yep.
us know.
We're cheering for you. Yep.
Yeah,
Drop that in.
if you're a
Sorry about that.
seasoned bike riders, high five to you. Good job. Let us know where you get your bikes. Okay. Well,
And your padded seat cover.
we love you and thanks for being with us. And hey, Kelly, we'll see you back here next week for another episode of the Wife Like Me podcast.
Let's
would you
do it.
Subscribe, please, so that other people can find this and so you don't miss an episode. We love you. We'll see you next
We're cheering for you.
week. And your bikes. Love you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.